last night during the Nevada Democratic primary debate, Bernie Sanders was the only candidate, the only person up on that stage who answered yes to a very provocative question by Chuck Todd. Take a look.
There's a very good chance none of you are going to have enough delegates to the Democratic National Convention to clinch this nomination, okay? If that happens, I want all of your opinions on this. Should the person with the most delegates at the end of this primary season be the nominee, even if they are short of a majority? Senator Sanders, I'm going to let you go last here because I know your view on this.
Whatever the rules of the Democratic Party are, they should be followed. And if they have a process, which I believe they do,
I'm trying to do this, yes,
everybody else, everybody can.
So you want the convention to work its will?
Yes.
Convention working its will means that people have the delegates that are pledged to them, and they keep those delegates until you come to the convention. All of the people.
Play by the rules.
Yes or no? Leading person with the delegates, should they be the nominee or not?
No, let the process work its way out.
Not necessarily, not to lose.
Senator Klobuchar?
Let the process work.
Senator Sanders?
Well, the process includes 500 superdelegates on the second ballot. So I think that the will of the people should prevail. Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Most votes should become the nominee.
5 no's and a yes.
So this is such an incredible story. There's a reason why, and look, to be fair, I think if the tables were turned and let's say Warren was the front runner, I think he would answer in the same way, right? So, but that's my speculation. Let me give you the subtext here because I think it is relevant. As New York Magazine writes, the subtext here is that the candidate most likely to arrive in Milwaukee with a majority of pledged delegates, i.e. those in caucuses and primaries, is Bernie Sanders. It's what the projections say and what logic says too. But as the strongest candidate, Sanders is also the candidate most likely to fit Todd's hypothetical of someone with a plurality, but not the majority of pledged delegates, right? So if he has the most delegates, but he doesn't have the majority, Bernie Sanders believes the right thing to do is to give that person the nomination, right? Now, some would argue it's convenient for him to say that because he's the front runner and he has the most, does he have the most delegates now?
I don't know the updated count actually, but I do know that he's gotten more votes in both of the states that we've had so far.
That's right, exactly. So let me give you, okay, so give me your thoughts on that.
I think it was an absolute disgrace that 5 people answered the way that they did.
Yep.
I think it should be the story of the day, the scandal of the day. It was our leadoff story on the Damage Report. I just finished an op-ed that is mostly about that. All of them should be facing an incredible amount of pressure. And I know that they won't because their supporters aren't gonna be calling for it. The vast majority of the people in this country want the person they like to win. Principles really don't enter into it. And what I love is that we can occasionally come together around things like, hey, doesn't it seem crazy that in the Electoral College you can get more votes but still lose? Hey, wouldn't it be cool if the person with the most votes wins? Oh wait, this time it's not mine? Then screw that whole thing. No, I think if more people support one candidate, especially if it's not even close, how could you possibly give the middle finger to all of them and say, no, we're gonna decide. It's been a fun little goof, these primaries and caucuses, but it's time for the adults in the room to decide. How could anyone call themselves a Democrat and hold such a fundamentally undemocratic stance?
This story further soured my perspective on Elizabeth Warren. The way she answered made me sour on her further. But Chris Matthews had a rare moment of clarity last night because he realized that everyone on that stage who answered no did so because they realized that they're losing and Bernie Sanders is winning. In fact, here's the video. Here's what he said.
There's only one candidate there who believes he's going to have the most delegates going into Milwaukee. And we know it was. He was the guy that said that person should be the winner. Everybody else said tonight, I will not have the most delegates. They all made it official. They were not going to give the win to the guy or the person with the most delegates. That was so telling tonight. Today, it was an acknowledgement that Bernie is the winner, not the winner so far in this whole fight. And he may be the winner all the way, and I think they think so.
So if you're a member of the show, write in right now because I do want to hear from you and hear what you have to think. We'll read some of your comments in just a few moments. But one person who's not happy about this is Marianne Williamson. So she put out a tweet and these are strong words, and I really like it. She says, the Democratic Party should be on notice. If you even think about using superdelegates to take the nomination from someone who has the plurality of delegates going into Milwaukee, we the people will not take it lying down. Now, Warren disagrees. In fact, she, in an interview with Chris Matthews, tried to defend her position on all of this and said the following, according to a reporter's tweet, Elizabeth Warren on MSNBC, on why she isn't supportive of going with the candidate who gets the most delegates on first ballot. Quote, we need to pick a nominee who can beat Donald Trump, and that means we gotta have someone who is talking to all parts of the party. It's important.
That was insane.
That wasn't even a subtle jab at Bernie Sanders. That was a sucker punch. And she's been doing that more and more often. And I put my own political feelings aside and just look at the facts as they stand. Every time she's done that, it has hurt her campaign. So I don't know why, on the heels of a great debate performance last night, she's decided to go in this direction of, using a disgusting Democratic establishment talking point about how Bernie isn't suited to beat Trump. Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah, it's a weird move to make. What she said about, first of all, about the first ballot, I understand that they do the ballot process. I find it frustrating to talk about it again, as I say a lot, in that sort of sanitized sense. It's the first ballot, but what they mean by that is it's the result of people voting. The stuff later is very few people in a room who've been senators and congressmen and all those, then they get to vote. I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about the actual people voting in primaries and caucuses around the country. That's what presumably we've been doing this whole thing for. So I kind of think that that's pretty important. If you are going to say, screw all of that, instead we need to worry about X, I would come up with something better than he doesn't speak to all parts of the party when he's been dominating you in terms of the number of votes so far. So if he's not speaking to all of them, how can you possibly make the case that you are? And especially someone who can beat Donald Trump. Look, I liked Warren less, with every passing day as she's going down this road. But if you want to talk about who can beat Donald Trump, I would love to sit down and have a talk about the general election matchups going back literally years.
Yes.
In some of them, Warren does beat Donald Trump, but the margin is always far, far closer than it is with Bernie Sanders. And of all of the zombie myths in politics that we have to destroy, the idea that any of them, other than possibly Biden, who also does well in matchups, to show I'm not biased, I will give him credit for that too. Even sometimes I can point up on Bernie Sanders. The idea that any of the others who are often tied with Bernie Sanders or with Donald Trump are actually losing to him can say that electability should be the guideline. Like, the people are already clear. Look at who they think is most likely to win. They're saying Bernie Sanders and they're voting accordingly.
You're exactly right. In the post game today, that's for our members. We will talk about some of the other attacks that that Elizabeth Warren has done just over the last 24 hours against Bernie Sanders, including talk of his medical records and just really below the belt nonsense that's beyond disappointing. But I'm gonna go a little further. I think that all of this, including her new willingness to take super PAC money, funds from millionaires, shows that she was malleable when it comes to her political identity, depending on what's convenient and politically beneficial for her in any given moment. And that's really sad to see. But more importantly, does she really think that she has a chance against Trump? I think she has a chance, but her political instincts have been a disaster, right? So look, there's policy and then there are political instincts. And she started seeing a giant dip in the polls back in November when she rolled out her specific policy for Medicare for all, right? How she would roll it out, how she would fund it. And it's because she very clearly moved to the center. She bought into all the pressure, probably from the former Obama aides that are now supporting her campaign, all this pressure to move to the center because they think that that's more appealing. Obviously not, certainly not in the Democratic Party. So if she's easily manipulated like that or malleable in this way and has these terrible political instincts, you think that that's gonna work against Trump? I mean, she's the one who put out that DNA test, and that also was poor in terms of her political instincts. So for her to make this accusation against Bernie is really pathetic when he's the only Democrat who has a populist economic message that's real, that he truly believes in, that he's fought for decades, and it really does resonate with Americans across the board, regardless of political identity. I wanted to read a few of the member comments. If you'd like to become a member and support the show, you can do so by going to tyt.com/join. Eclectic Miscellaneous says the rules of the Democratic Party must be followed. Says the multi-billionaire that they changed the rules for so he could be on the stage or the debate stage while other candidates who followed the rules were forced to drop out.
Yeah. Such
a devastating point. Marijuana's #3 fan says the front runner should be the one to get the nomination, plain and simple. Same argument that you made, John. Cam J says it is very obvious that the party establishment is looking to make it go to a second ballot and use superdelegates and the delegates of other candidates to stop Bernie from winning. And remember, they were already testing the waters with bringing superdelegates back. You remember that?
Yeah.
So
yeah, my hope is that because other than Bernie Sanders, there are 5 people who are to varying degrees deluded about what the country actually thinks about them and what their chances are of winning, that all of them will stay in, thinking, well, if I just stick around until the convention, then some people in Democratic leadership can choose me, they can flip off the voters and say, no, this is gonna be our candidate. And the thing is, if you, like I said, I think in my live video this morning before the damage report, if you have like 3 or 4 people who all have similar levels of support, then they'll be splitting the delegates and no one will end up with the majority. But if you have 8 people splitting the vote, then a bunch of them are not gonna meet the threshold for delegates at all. And in fact, that means more of the delegates will go to the people who do meet the threshold, including Bernie Sanders. And so all of them getting involved in this plot, it's sort of like a prisoner's dilemma. They're screwing each other over and possibly making it more likely that we don't have a contested convention.
Right, but look, to be fair, the DNC has been consistent. When Bernie Sanders, when it was between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, they didn't get mad at him for refusing to concede immediately, right?
They didn't.
No, they were very fair to him.
It's not dangerous to have a long primary or whatever.
I know.
Whoever gets the most votes wins.
Yeah.
That's simple. You could write it on a Post-it note, brought to you by Amy Klobuchar's state. It'd be so simple, think about it.
I know, but they don't believe in democracy. I think that's pretty clear.
Don't miss your chance to win a trip to Los Angeles and have dinner with Cenk, Anna, and me. Just head to tyt.com/dinner in LA to register to win. Sign up for a free Aspiration Spend and Save account, register your eligibility, swipe your Aspiration card on daily purchases to gain entries to win a chance to fly to LA and have dinner with the TYT hosts. Not only are you entering to win that dinner in LA with Cenk and Anna and myself, but you're also able to deposit your hard-earned money without it going towards fossil fuel exploration or production. And as a friendly reminder, even if you already have an Aspiration account, you must still first register to be eligible for the sweepstakes.